Welcome back. Let's take you now live to Boksburg, where the African National Congress is briefing the media and also responding to an earlier media briefing by the Democratic Alliance on its response to the expropriation bill being signed into law. Here's Fikile Mbalula speaking.
Thank you for being present among us to get first-hand information about the direction we seek to take in terms of influencing the developments in our country. Today, the three-day National Lekgotla of the African National Congress got underway. It began with the President Cyril Ramaphosa's presentation of a political overview outlining the strategic context and priorities to guide the discussions and deliberations of this important gathering, along with messages of support from our alliance partners. The Lekgotla, which brings together the ANC leadership, alliance partners and other stakeholders, is an important opportunity to evaluate progress, address challenges, and chart a way forward in advancing the national democratic revolution and the aspirations of the Freedom Charter. Setting the context to the Lekgotla, President Ramaphosa's political overview emphasized the broad national and global factors shaping this year's Lekgotla, including the theme for 2025, the year of renewal, to make the ANC a more effective instrument of the people to achieve the vision of the Freedom Charter. The people shall govern as the tagline. The people shall share in the country's wealth, which is a direct quote from the clauses of the Freedom Charter. As the ANC celebrates the 70th anniversary of the Freedom Charter, the President reminded the gathering that the society envisioned in the Charter remains unrealized due to persistent challenges such as racism, patriarchy, inequality, and economic exclusion. These realities underline the need for the ANC to remain resolute in its mission to achieve the vision of the Freedom Charter and lead the transformation agenda. The President highlighted key challenges shaping the domestic and global context. Domestically, the persistence of the triple challenges of unemployment, poverty, and inequality remains a critical issue. There is a pressing need to address ongoing service delivery issues, crime, gender-based violence, and the high cost of living. Strengthening the ANC's role in the government of national unity is crucial to ensuring the implementation of ANC resolutions and policies. Globally, rising instability and attacks on multilateralism continue to affect South Africa and the developing world. Increasing conflicts in Africa, the Middle East, and Europe, along with global economic challenges, exacerbate poverty and unemployment in South Africa, requiring a strategic response. We emphasize three urgent and interrelated priorities to guide the Lekgotla discussions. First, the renewal and rebuilding of the ANC must focus on strengthening its structures, especially branches, to serve as vibrant centers of community life. The renewal agenda must prioritize restoring public trust and ensuring the ANC remains a decisive and ethical leader. Secondly, economic growth and job creation must be at the forefront of the ANC's agenda. Opportunities in manufacturing, the green economy, and digital technologies should be leveraged to stimulate inclusive economic growth and job creation, addressing youth unemployment through targeted education reforms, skills development and entrepreneurship programs is critical. Thirdly, improving service delivery and accountability is essential. Efforts must focus on addressing water insecurity and eradicating water mafias that sabotage infrastructure. The formalization of informal settlements must be accelerated, and access to basic services for indigent households must be expanded. Developing a comprehensive indigent register will provide critical support to vulnerable households facing rising costs. We also celebrate and reflect on the 300 days without load shedding, which coincided with South Africa's attendance to the World Economic Forum this past week. A delegation of business and government went to World Economic Forum with a message of hope, practically in terms of interventions that we are making in terms of improving the economy. The ANC applauds Eskom's achievement of over 300 consecutive days without load shedding, a significant milestone that underscores the progress made under the ANC-led government's commitment to addressing South Africa's energy challenges. This accomplishment is a direct result of the comprehensive measures outlined in the ANC manifesto, including the maintenance and refurbishment of Eskom infrastructure, additional energy procurement, and the transition to renewable energy sources. Stable energy supply is key to unlocking economic growth, attracting investment, and improving the quality of life for all South Africans. It ensures the uninterrupted operation of schools, hospitals, and businesses while advancing the ANC's vision of social transformation. We commend the dedication of Eskom's workforce and all stakeholders involved, and reaffirm our commitment to ensuring energy security for the benefit of the nation. It has now been proven beyond reasonable doubt that the commitment that was made by government that we will work to turn around the situation and turn around from an electricity crisis that manifested itself through load shedding, we will overcome. This was not just a mere election gimmick as it was characterized some months ago. Accelerating land reform and the Expropriation Act is one of the key important transformational matters that this government is accelerating. The President reaffirmed the importance of accelerating land reform as a key pillar of transformation. The recent enactment of the Expropriation Act provides a legal framework to address historical injustices and promote equitable access to land. The Act enables the expropriation of land in the public interest, including for land reform and socio-economic development. Government must prioritize the implementation of the Act to unlock opportunities in agriculture, human settlements, and industrial development. The President noted that land reform is essential not only for justice and redress, but also for economic growth, and national food security. And by the way, this matter has been with us in the National Assembly as well as the NCOP up until to the point that it was now on the desk of the President to sign. And he has done exactly that. So all the boxes have been ticked. Now that the DA and others wake up in their slumber as though this is new, they have not been aware of it. President Ramaphosa just woke up and formulated an act and decided to sign. That's not how things are done. It's basically to take shortcuts in the supply chain system of processing of bills in Parliament up until at the level of government. And if there's something unlawful in terms of the signing of this act, it can be ventilated in the courts and other terrains that are applicable to those who don't actually approve. Rather than to bring GNU into this particular matter, when it is a matter that was finalized long time ago. And what the President does when an act and a bill has undergone a particular process, he look at it in terms of the law, and when he get an advice that he cannot sign, he basically take it back to Parliament. The fact that the President have signed it means he's convinced that in terms of the law, this act is consistent with our constitutional prescripts. The DA knows, and everybody else, that this was not only in the pipeline, it was just a matter of time that the President will sign. There is, for instance, an e-hailing matter of the National Transport Act amendment that permitted the operation of e-hailing. It's in the desk of the President. He took it back, and then we went back to Parliament. I was Minister of Transport, and we're waiting for the President to basically respond to that by signing this into an act to enable a regulated environment for the e-hailing, taxi people or public transport people in our country. So these are things that are there that we know have been there. So at the present moment, people opportunistically want to short-circuit processes that have been followed to the latter, using GNU to basically scupper what they failed in the democratic process that we undergo in terms of processing these bills. So it's not something new. It has been there. All political parties who were in Parliament know that. So if anyone wants to challenge the act and say that in terms of the law, is either it is inadequate or it is unlawful, so our system allows for checks and balances for such matters to be processed. So they are free to do so, rather than grandstanding and seek to deal with this matter as though it is something new. And also want to redefine how the executive must function. Once the act is an act, you are a minister, you have to implement the act, or otherwise we will take you to task for non-implementation of the act. We will take you to task in terms of the legislature, the National Assembly will hold you accountable. That is the first thing. Secondly, we'll take you to task for non-implementation of an act of government and of the people of South Africa, which is constitutional. So you've got no choice. It's lawful. You can't run government like as if it is your stock fair. You do what you want. If it doesn't happen, you can disappear with the money of the stock fair. No, it doesn't work like that. And then People must be educated on how government is getting, you run government. You take an oath, you are a minister. You are not there because you represent your party. Once you are sworn in, you are a minister. You must implement all the acts of government. Any minister who doesn't do that will hold them accountable. It is up to the president to deal with matters in relation to his prerogative. We were not going to give instructions to him about that. Bella Act were to delay its implementation and sign it into law and delay implementation of certain aspects of the Bella Act. That was a huge compromise on the part of the president. But still, in the discussion, you couldn't get as to what is this point that has been raised. Here in South Africa, it has become evident and very clear every day that the fundamental difference between us and our strategic opponents is nothing else. It's about agreeing about what constitutes the consensus in relation to the transformation of South Africa. From the undesirable state to the desirable. The undesirable state is a state of apartheid that we are transforming. We are transforming this country to equality for all. And that is what we differ with those who differ with the transformational things we seek to advance. We cannot agree that South Africa cannot advance in terms of transformation. It must stagnate, it must stand still. No, we cannot agree to that. This country must be transformed from all aspects. And that's what people vote for. When you see your vote counts, you see it now. You voted for transformation, for things to change for the better, to change things from this undesirable to the desirable state where we all live in equality. Equality does not just mean that we can sing the same national anthem together. It goes beyond that. It means we have been separated in many other ways, in terms of language and all of that. And then society has been racialized in terms of areas where we live in through Group Areas Act. You have repealed that, but it doesn't end that. How do you address the question of integration of our people in the long term and going forward? And the law must assist us to transform. And the resistance from those who say the status quo must remain. There is no fundamental problem of land in South Africa. Anyone who says that, it tells you where do they come from. The ANC cannot agree to that. That is why we put progressive laws to enable us to advance. Even this Expropriation Act that the president has signed, it's not an end in itself. The struggle continues. We want a total picture to enable us to advance. We have said right from the onset, we will advance the struggle for land redistribution and equity through legal means. We're not going to do land grab and then still simply stay with the policy that says willing seller, willing buyer is sufficient. We started there. We need now to advance. 30 years on, we're still here. So we are advancing. Expropriation that has been signed by the president is important for our people and for South Africa. It's no exclusion to everyone. Status quo must remain. We are not for that. On global leadership and solidarity, the president reiterated the ANC's commitment to building a better Africa and a better world, guided by principles of anti-colonialism, Pan-Africanism, and human rights. South Africa will utilize its G20 presidency to advance the interests of Africa and the global South, focusing on green industrialization and the strategic use of critical minerals. The ANC will continue to support the struggle for self-determination in Palestine and Western Sahara. And we very much as well welcome the ceasefire agreement. We so wish that it can lead a step further in terms of addressing the question of self-determination of the Palestinian people. But ceasefire is very important. It enables us to advance further. The President reminded delegates of the importance of upcoming National General Council, scheduled for the second half of the year, as a platform to assess effectiveness of ANC policies and programs. In our next NEC meeting, we will focus on the General Council, its preparations, and also, among others from this meeting, we are discussing rebuilding, renewal program of action of the ANC in terms of membership, branches, and everything else that deals with organization building. So this is the year of renewal of the ANC. It is renewal or perish. We understand that very well. This will coincide with celebration of the 70th anniversary of the Freedom Charter, a moment to recommit to the principles enshrined in this historic document. The Lekgotla will deliberate on these priorities and tasks in the coming days, guided by the ANC's election manifesto, National Conference resolutions, and the January 8 statement. This Lekgotla is not the reinvention of a new policies. We've got policies. Remember, we went to a national conference. I want to explain this to you so that you understand it very clear. Lekgotla is a strategic forum every year that brings us all together to look as to whether are we still consistent with the conference resolutions, are we advancing? And for that year, in terms of the January 8 statement, what are the tasks? In this instance, we've defined 6 priorities, which are basically consistent with what is in the manifesto. And this is what this Lekgotla is about, to say, in the January 8, we said government must do the following. In terms of the January 8, we said organizationally, to complement what government is doing. These are the things that we need to do as an organization. So this Lekgotla is about that. It's a strategic platform in which we say, as people meet in the different rooms here, they discuss implementation, not innovation. That what is the best policy to advance for this year? Industrialization and industrialization. It's not policy, but a guiding task from the manifesto to date that we must advance. So in the commissions there, they discuss industrialization and at the same time innovation and so on from the point of view of what we need to do, because we believe it's a major intervention, creating industries, expanding and all of that in order to create more jobs for our economy. So in looking ahead, the President reminded delegates of the importance of upcoming General Council that is scheduled. This will coincide with the Freedom Charter, as we said. And in conclusion, the ANC remains committed to uniting the country and addressing the challenges facing the people and advancing the aspirations of the Freedom Charter. The outcomes of this Lekgotla will chart a path forward for renewal, service delivery, and economic transformation, ensuring the ANC remains a trusted and effective instrument of the people of South Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade SG. I will then take hands from colleagues who wish to ask questions. I will start this side. Let me start with print, Masungwini, then I'll come to SABC, and then to be Sunday World. In that order, please. You are on the floor.
My name is Masungwini from City Press. Now that the ANC is no longer the government of the day on its own, how are you hoping to implement the resolution or the decision that are taken here without resistance from the DNU partners? Just like we have seen in the past where the DA was open or perceived to have been openly defying the president as the government. on NHI, Benabin and others. And what does it say about the ANC or the president's powers when that happened, when in public people or ministers, ministers were talking a different language from the president and nothing happened to them? What did you do, or what did the president do about that to hold them accountable for talking outside the government and pushing the party politics instead of the government mandate? Thank you.
Thank you. SABC.
Mr. Mbalula, your response on Johnson News and TV leader invoking clause 19 of that particular agreement that you had with them and the government of National Unity, the statement of intent. Then secondly, the battles between Minister Dean McPherson and the Deputy Minister Fikile Mbalula, particularly at public works over the IDP and essentially now on the Expropriation Act that is recently been enacted by Ministerial. How do you respond to this particular battle? Thank you.
Thank you. Sandiwal.
Thanks for taking my wonderful Sunday. Well, first, the continuation from Sam's question is on the issue of that letter by Mr. Johnston Hazen. He raises a point which has been, in fact, a point that has been coming under about this confusion about what constitutes sufficient consensus in terms of the statement of intent. How do you understand it? And also, I think you also point to that way you say they seem to be confused raising issues that came before the GNU government. In fact, is the GNU not empowered to deal with issues that precede the formation of the GNU? And then also with that, maybe so far, many doubted, including me, that the ANC will have this victory that you had since the GNU. I really thought that the DA was going to, just run you over. But so far, you've done tremendously well. You have, I think it's 3 million we talk. So how have you done it? What is the strategy? I mean, because even how you place the DA ministers now, you place them in what look like strategic positions, but now you are forcing them to implement ANC policies. How have you done this, and how will you do it going forward to force your policies to be implemented in a GNU method as other parties? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take Yense.
All right, thanks very much. Mulu here from ENCA. I just want to understand, because prior to the signing of the Health Insurance Act, business canvassed the president not to sign it into an act. I am trying to understand whether prior to signing the Expropriation Act, perhaps as the ANC, whether you are aware that the DA or any other interested party perhaps might have tried to lobby you and the president not to sign it into an act. But they are accusing you, the DA, that is, of doing this, particularly with regard to this new act, because you are doing all you can in order to claw back the support we lost to the MK party. My last question relates to the information we just picked up that the National Disciplinary Committee of the ANC has decided to charge and give charge sheets or charges to 5 leaders of the ANC, Lekgotla, Fikile, Cedric Foley, as well as David Makrobo, and also Obed Babela. As the custodian of the ANC, as the Secretary General, can you just perhaps confirm or deny those, and also keep us bring us into confidence in terms of the charges that they are faced with? But lastly, because I'm told that the first 4, the charges relate to the Zondo Commission, people are asking, what about people like the National Chairperson, Mandasha, as well as the First Secretary, Deputy Secretary General, and many others, because we understand there's over 80 people who were implicated in one way or the other, who ought to have appeared before the Integrity Committee.
That was the last question, Muluku?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Is that fine, Ms. G, that we proceed with this one?
Thank you very much for change. We're discussing transformation in this press conference. Thank you very much for the questions. City Press, how do we hope to implement decisions without partners and DA ministers in the GNU? The president of the country is sitting there in the union buildings processing pieces of legislation before him, and is guided well into his decisions, politically and otherwise and legally, by his capable team to make determinations about these bills. And once he has applied his mind, he acts on the bills, and this is what has happened since the starting of the GNU. And we have said to you that Government of National Unity is guided by the statement of intent in relation to constitutionalism and the rule of law. But we have said to you that GNU is not a melting pot. You've got political parties that don't agree among themselves. And in particular, the main contending forces there is the ANC and the DA. The DA will seek to push back on a whole range of issues. The ANC will drive the transformation agenda in relation not only to its constituency but to South Africa as a whole. We don't seek to claw back any support. We're just consistent. If the DA was the ANC with the largest support and they were in the driving seat of the GNU, what will they do about it? They will probably not sign all the pieces of legislation that were supposed to come before them at any given point in time. So the GNU is not a melting pot. And in this particular instance, the DA, if they want to engage, which we are ready to engage on these particular matters in the context of the measures and the mechanisms we have put in place, we will do so. And we'll do so fairly, and we'll do so principled in relation to what we stand for. And that's what everybody needs to actually understand. The ANC will not change in its path of transforming South Africa and transformation with 40 votes that we received in the last election. We will persist with the transformation agenda. And that's what is happening right now. But engagement, yes, we are ready to engage. I was talking to the president now about engagement with everybody, of which, including the DA. I mean, we will engage with the DA on these particular matters and understand where they come from, even though we are clearer about where they come from, because we ventilated these matters in Parliament in the 6th administration. We engaged in portfolio committees, we engaged in discussions, and then we managed to pass the bill in Parliament. It passed, went to the NCOP, passed. They were there. Now it is before the president, and the president says to South Africa, I'm signing it into law because nothing is prohibiting me from signing this bill into law. It's an act now. So what is the issue? The issue is not whether it is unlawful or not. It is a fundamental ideological issue about the direction we need to take in this country. redistribute, and at the same time ensure that those who are in the fringes are also benefiting in terms of the land redistribution program of this country. And that's what is happening right now in our eyes and to everybody's understanding. So we are ready, City Press, to engage. DA, there's no DA minister in the GNU, it's ministers who must conduct themselves in terms of the prescripts of the law. I'm not going to use this language that if they don't want, they can go. No, it doesn't work like that. Because when they chose to participate as a party, they knew what they want. Because it is very clear to me every day that they wanted to put brakes on transformation. And by day, if they get frustrated and they don't succeed, they might embark on other ways. And it's up to them as the party. But when they make the choice, they knew the path they were embarking upon. The same as us. We know the dangers, the difficulties, and the risks. But we made it very clear that we will not compromise on what made the ANC to get 40%. We will not compromise on that. We made it very clear. And once we do that, we've got to account to our constituency, to our membership. Why did we now deviate from implementing resolutions of the ANC? Of course, we have said and we've been open and we've been castigated week in and week out about our choice of GNU, which include the DA. We said we want to work for South Africa and for everybody. We invited everyone to come in the GNU, knowing very well that GNU is not a melting pot. It has got thorns and so on along the way, and we just have got to look at them and so on. So people came here with a clear understanding of what they want to achieve, and it is only them and only them who know why they also embraced this kind of an approach. And so I'm not going to say, because the ANC will not dismiss anyone from the GNU and say go away. We won't do that. We want to work for South Africa, but we are not convenient. We know we are for transformation. And if people want to put brakes, they must then win elections outright and get rid of the ANC. They couldn't get rid of us. They only reduced us below 50. And that is it. So if we're out of power, there's nothing we'll do. Our people will have seen for themselves, but what our people have given to us to continue to participate enable us to continue with the agenda of transforming this country for the better. And that is what we are doing as the African National Congress going forward. We often get accused by many, including our allies, that our policies are selling out, we are neoliberal, and everything else. It took us so long to do a lot of things. We did nothing with the majority that we got at some point. We sat on it and all of that. We would have addressed this thing of land redistribution long time ago with the 2/3 majority we got. Why didn't we do it? We get accused about that. But we've got reasons why certain things had to happen the way they do. And our mandate is very clear. And the DA need to be clear about that. And they are very clear when they deal with the ANC, what they are dealing with. They are dealing with a party that is resolute, that is for transformation of South Africa. And that transformation was not achieved in 30 years. It's still deepening. We need to deepen that transformation. That is why we said that, and we used this, not guardedly, correctly so, that to us, we believe in 29 May we have suffered a setback. But that setback is not permanent, it's strategic setback. right, it means we can still not maneuver advance the course of transformation for South Africa. And that is it. So those who don't want transformation failed to get rid of the ANC. And we want transformation for all in our country. So ministers must behave. Unfortunately, they must behave in this context. They must understand that they can argue their issues in cabinet, they can argue as a bloc in cabinet, but my own experience of how cabinet functions, cabinet doesn't work according to a bloc. You know, you present to cabinet, your matters go through various phases in terms of the supply chain of processing matters in government. And then cabinet is the ultimate, and from there you go to parliament, and then parliament process issues. And then from there, they come back to the president, and the president has got to apply his mind and sign on these bills. So that's what has happened here. So you can only hold that process if you legally feel that there are missteps in terms of the processes, and that one way or the other, we now have got to resort to other ways to stop the president, go to court. That has actually happened, even in the past. SABC, Clause 19, we were happy to see how he's been invoked by the DA. I saw John Oosthuizen saying that. Conflict between Fikile and Dean is quite interesting, actually. That conflict. You don't have to be worried about it. I think Fikile is representing what we as the ANC support, and Dean is just being out of character. He must talk to his deputy. He cannot chastise the deputy minister. That's why the debate now degenerates about qualifications and all of that, because the way he speaks to Fikile is like Fikile is what is this? A ball boy who must carry his briefcase wherever he goes, and because he's a minister, he sits in cabinet, the deputy doesn't have an opinion. I was a deputy minister one time in government of a minister of the ANC. We're both from ANC, and this minister wanted me to be like a ball boy, and I told him, no, I'm not here. I've come here to play my role. So Dean must speak to his deputy in government, and they must talk. And he cannot think that every time he faces a difficulty, he must run to the DA. No, he must talk to the deputy in government, and then they must face each other there. So that's what is important, rather than running to his party and shouting from outside. When he's got executive authority, he must deal with that matter properly and quite maturely in government. It's very difficult in the GNU because you account to your party and you come with the mandate of your party in a very, very difficult terrain. So he must resolve issues maturely in government and talk to ministers. If they is not going to behave, then the chief executive officer of the republic, which is the president, who's driving cabinet, will have to intervene and will urge the president to intervene and deal and bring order in his cabinet in terms of his ministers and deputy ministers. Sunday World, the statement of intent, yes, it's still there, we signed it. So we will be ready to engage with anyone who want us to come to the round table. I will surely talk to Helen, but from where I'm seated, I don't have problems. So we will engage whenever it is necessary to do so. We are open to do that. We have committed ourselves when we face difficulties and political parties have difficulties in the GNU in relation to matters including about expropriation. We will meet and talk about those issues. This is what is important. We have not outmaneuvered the DA. The point is that they have outmaneuvered themselves because they know that how legislation has been processed. We got into this election. President signed NHI before GNU, isn't it? Yes, signed NHI before GNU, and then he signed Bella Act after it has undergone all the processes. Now the expropriation. So the DA should have known, and they did not say to us in the statement of intent, all the bills that we disagreed with, you must start them afresh. They didn't say that to us. We would have told them right from the onset that we don't agree, and that's it. So they hoped that maybe some spirit will come in along the way to stop things. It doesn't work like that. You become honest with your people and your partners. When you enter into a terrain, fundamentally you say, then if that is the case, you are not going to start everything afresh. We're not coming and easy. They didn't say that in the negotiations. It was not there that they will, when you want to pin things around documents, and then you then pick up a clause and say, let's go. In terms of this clause, Section 19, how will it reverse what is happening right now? We can go and talk and discuss. We will engage. We are open to do that. But the matters are resolved in government. That's where they are. So Paul Mashatile, as the deputy president, is chairing that committee where they all sit. So let them go and sit there in the committee and discuss this bill. And then see how many political parties in the government of national unity disagree with this particular bill and all of that. So that's one approach that they can take, because it's what is being implemented at the present moment. So to say to them that they can go, that's not the approach the ANC is going to take. We committed to the GNU. We committed to our transformation agenda. We are ready to engage with everybody. In our view, there is nothing wrong that the president did. If this bill was unlawful, the president would have sent it back to Parliament. And that's what we believe, that all political parties have looked into this bill in Parliament and gave the president the green light, sign. So president, he doesn't just wake up and sign. He look at the legalities of this. So if they've got things that they think, you see, there are certain things that we cannot change overnight. That's what we need to understand. We are guided by the law, the spirit of the law, in terms of how things get to be done. ENCA, clawback, MK Party. MK Party. What were you saying about these people?
No, I'm saying the GA is saying that you are forging ahead.
Oh, I've answered that question. Yeah, no, we're not. We are just consistent.
But also I was asking if before the signing of this expropriation leading to an act, whether you have knowledge as to whether the president was canvassed not to go ahead with it.
President would have been canvassed in terms of the legislature, the National Assembly. And then we passed this in the National Assembly and went to the NCOP. How would this bill have landed in the desk of the president? It landed in his desk because it undergoes those processes. And I've made an example about the National Land Transport Act in terms of e-hailing. It's before the desk of the president. As a minister, I was advised I can't put pressure on the president. I was a minister of transport. I was dealing with e-hailing, Uber, Bolt, and everything else. Then there was conflict there. So we did a lot of work with Joe Maswangai and Blayton Zimande, which I inherited and I took it forward. President returned that to Parliament. And then Parliament did its work, is before the President. And then I was saying, hey, these people are fighting here. President, can you sign? Then I was quickly advised by my law advisors in my ministry that you don't do that to the President Minister. Leave the President. He's looking at this matter. He will do it, even if it's after 6 months. That's the process. This is not new. So, because the president have got to apply his mind, not his head of a political party. Yes, he's the president of the ANC. He knows this must happen. But if he gets into government and they tell him that this can't happen because there are missteps in terms of the law, or there is a lacuna or whatever that it is in the bill, you can't sign it. The president won't sign it. He will send it back to Parliament. And that is it. Now, people are charged. Yes, people are charged. I did tell you in Cape Town that people will be charged. They are charged because they did not appear before the Integrity Commission. We did tell them even before the elections, we did brief you, that people can go to cabinet or no, they can go to Parliament and all of that, but these matters are going to appear before the DC. I was painstakingly explaining to you every press conference about Integrity Commission that the NEC, this NEC, took a decision that the following comrades must be charged. And that's what is happening right now. And that is being implemented. I told you that Obed will be charged in terms of issues you know about, and that matter is before the DC now. And I told you that we are going to act on others who have been showing wayward behavior, thinking that we are in a place where they can do as they wish in the ANC. And the NEC said, Secretary General Act, and I've explained to you, I'm explaining again. When people get charged, it's not the decision of the NEC most of the time. They get charged because you have crossed the line. We have said, here is the line. Anyone who crosses this line, the organization must act. And the organization can't have eyes and all of that. We have said in the ANC, there is no difficulty for anybody to express themselves in one way or the other. Politically, we are an organization that embraces the principle of dissent. We won't charge anybody because he's got a different view. There are many different views today here, I'm sure, inside. If you get there, you will get into the commissions, you will get different views. You saw almost the alliance, how they were speaking in the morning and all of that. And that's why we have said that you cannot attack Solima Paila because he represents a different view on behalf of the party. It's not his view. The Communist Party met with the ANC. As the SG of the ANC, I cannot in public attack the General Secretary of the Communist Party because he does not, it's not him. The Communist Party have got a different view in terms of GNU. As much as I can have reservations, but I must respect that office, respect the Communist Party, the same as themselves. When others call me Mr. GNU, I'm not GNU. I don't like it, GNU, but it's the position of the ANC that we have adopted as the National Executive Committee. And surely many people see now what GNU and coalitions have done to us. Today, we are here explaining ourselves to our opponents about expropriation to advance transformation. If we're not in this GNU, our people came out in numbers and voted, I wouldn't even need a call to anybody. I will simply say that we are implementing the policy of the ANC. But the ANC has been undermined in terms of its majority and muscle to advance people's power and advance the agenda of transformation. Today, we are constrained. We are constrained. We explain ourselves about things that we shouldn't be explaining ourselves, because I'm explaining myself to somebody that I know very well that where do they come from in terms of their opposition to this bill. And what do we represent as the ANC in relation to this bill? That is not non-negotiable. Now, if I have to bend back and forth in relation to these particular matters, is because our power, our wings to fly have been clipped and our power to advance has been weakened. And we have said that we are weakened, but we are not out. So, we are not clawing back and anything of that sort. We are doing consistently what we stand for as the party. What about Gwede? Gwede did appear before the Integrity Commission. He did. He went there. I've got a report. I've tabled that report. The NEC adopted on Gwede. So that's where things are. So if a letter or a charge for violating Rule 25 is before any individual, is because there is something that informs that. Now, you say there are 85 people of the ANC or whatever number that appeared before the Integrity Commission. Why they are not charged? Lucky Montana is no longer a member of the ANC. And then if somebody, I'm giving you an example, is in MK party, is wearing camouflage every day. So others have left, and others say, who said I'm your member? Now, these ones are members of the NEC. They sit with us, they are members. So they have been charged in that status. But not that others have been left out. I can tell you right now, many others who have been served and who will be served with these charges, before you get charged, we look at your membership. Their membership has lapsed. They were members. Others have never been members. You can look at a person, their government, and all of that, civil servant, you think is a member of the ANC. He's not. He's not a member. Doesn't even attend branch meetings. But he was called before the Zondo Commission, and you conclude that these people are members of the ANC. They are not. I mean, there's another one, I wrote a letter, he said, who said I'm a member, SG? I mean, with due respect, man, please, leave me alone. And then what do? I leave you alone. You are not a member. When I look at the records, he's not there. He says, what business do I have with you? It is Zondo and you this side. No, man. I'm not, and easy, I'm not coming. I'm not a member, you know. I was a member, I'm not. So there are many, I'll give you a list. You will see them. They say they are not members. Now, these ones are here. And then they've been charged. And I can't discuss the content of the charge in a press conference. But I can confirm to you that there are people who have been charged and there are reasons, and you know about that. It's not new. It's only that Mahlengi was not efficient enough to give you a statement that the following people, because if he doesn't do that, they come to you and say, I'm being chased after. They know that these things were going to happen. They happen in the organization. And it's not like it's something new and all of that. They were in the NEC. When we went for national elections, some of them, we spoke to them about these matters. They said, no, we'll cross the thing when we get there. And that is why there's conflict or feud, so to say, between us. you know. And the problem is that when you've got to act in a position of authority mandated by the ANC, you've got no choice unless you then become wayward yourself. You sit on issues, you don't process them, and then in the ANC, I cannot sit on issues. It's not only the NEC that come to the SG and ask about things. There's Veterans League, there's Integrity Commission. There's a whole lot of structures we have established. And they've got the right to ask SG, well, you have established an Integrity Commission. Are we a just make me nice project? Because we sit, we process things, we feel like you comrades are not taking us serious. You don't process. You don't even come and tell us yes or no. And then one day they are going to come and say, we want to see the NEC. The NEC is going to say, we have processed all matters. We don't know why the SG is not processing matters. When I arrived here, the former Secretary General was just piling things under the table like this and not processing them. And then he knew that, hey, this thing is going to come my direction one day. I'm not processing anything. So things were not being processed. They were just there in the office. He was ignoring them. So I can't do that. We can't do that. We were elected to run the ANC. And if we didn't want to be in this position, we should have said nicely, I'm sorry, I decline. Give to others. So I agreed. So when I arrive here, it is not nice. Even now, it's not nice for me. I mean, people look at me with zigzag, this SG is a problem. I'm not a problem. I'm just doing the job that they mandated me to do. And I'm happy to do that. It's not nice, but most of the time it's nice. But not all the things are nice.
All right, we're going to come out of those live media proceedings from Boksburg, where the ANC is holding its very first Lekgotla this year, with a special focus, of course, on renewal as well as rebuilding. Fikile Mbalula there, the SG, outlining those policies that are on the agenda, namely youth unemployment, skills development, the National Development Plan, improving service delivery, as well as addressing the current water challenges. Pretty much what the president said in his opening remarks at the Lekgotla this morning. Now, on their response to the DA's media briefing, where the party and the president were basically called out for what the DA said is continued disrespect of the GNU coalition partners, Mbalula said this bill has long been in the president's office for him to sign, and therefore the DA must use available avenues to raise their concerns instead of bringing the GNU into this particular dispute. He says the president applies his mind fully before signing any bill into law. He says a minister's job also is to implement, and they will take any minister to task for non-implementation.